The pregnant body goes through countless changes. Hormone changes, energy levels fluctuate, and aches and pains come and go. This can affect several areas of a woman's life and activities, including sex. With your body changing, how can you make sex more comfortable in pregnancy? We'll find out how today. This is Preggy Pals.
Is that a plus sign?
Pink or blue?
Hospital or home birth?
What type of food should I be eating?
I think I just peed myself.
I'm pregnant, and I have to exercise.
What pregnancy glow?
Wait, was that a contraction?
Gotta make these pants fit. I've got kinkles.
What do you mean there's more than one?
You've got the symptoms, and now you've got the support you need for a happy 9 months. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
Welcome to Preggy Pals, broadcasting from the Birth Education Center of San Diego. Preggy Pals is your online, on-the-go support group for expecting parents and those hoping to become pregnant. I'm your host, Stephanie Glover. Thanks to all of our loyal listeners who've joined the Preggy Pals Club. Our members get special episodes, bonus content after each new show, plus special giveaways and discounts. See our website for more information. Another way you can stay connected is by downloading our free Preggy Pals app, available in the Android, iTunes, and Windows Marketplace. You can also download our network app so you can access all of your favorite New Mommy Media shows on the go. Here's Sunny with more information about how you can get involved with the show.
Okay, so we are doing something different here with Preggy Pals, and it's a new thing that we're launching. We're real excited about it, but we usually record here in San Diego, and we usually all meet in a studio and gather around like a table kind of thing and chat. So we are changing up our format a little bit so that we are all going to be recording remotely, if you will, from our own computers and our own location. So what does this mean for you guys? This means that for everyone who listens to the show that's not here in San Diego, this is your opportunity to get involved. And as long as you have a computer and a webcam, the ability, pretty good internet access, you can be part of our shows.
Woo-hoo.
And so, so you don't have to be in San Diego anymore. So this is really exciting. There's more information on our website. So if you go to newmommymedia.com, there's a big banner on the homepage. Just click the banner that talks about becoming a panelist on the show. And then there's a quick little online form that you can fill out. Just gives us some more information about you so we can reach out to you when we have topics that, are apropos to your experience. Also, we have a Facebook group where we post all of our tapings and our recording times and all that good stuff. So wanted to throw that out there. If you've been wanting to get involved with Preggy Pals and you're like, I'm not in San Diego, guess what? You don't need to be in San Diego anymore. So that is a huge way you can get involved in our show.
Awesome. Thanks, Sunny. Yeah, we're excited about the new format for sure. So today we have Sunny and myself as the parent panelist. So you're going to learn more about our sex life, I guess, probably than you ever wanted to, right?
This may have to be the explicit. What is it? Explicit on iTunes. I think I have to mark this as one of those higher ratings.
We'll see where the conversation goes, I guess.
We'll see.
But we'll introduce ourselves quickly. So again, I'm Stephanie Glover. I'm 33. I am the host of Preggy Pals and also a trained childbirth educator. No due date, but I have 2 little girls, ages 4 and 2. Gretchen was my C-section baby, and Lydia was my VBAC.
All right, and I'm Sunny. I'm producing today's show, and I have 4 kids, which means I have had sex before. And I have had sex during pregnancy, so I guess I'm qualified to talk about this. My oldest is 5, and I have a 3-year-old, and then I have twins that are 2. All right, so before we dive into our topic today, we have a segment called Pregnancy Oops, where you guys share your funny pregnancy stories, things that have happened during pregnancy that, I don't know, just kind of funny, and you just kind of want to embarrass yourself and tell our whole audience about it. So this one comes from Becca, and Becca writes to us, and she says, when I was pregnant, I always had really vivid dreams. One night when I was about 5 months pregnant with my 4th child, I was dreaming about bugs and spiders for some reason. Oh, that's so gross. I just getting creepy, like
you just have to scratch or
no, right now. Okay. So when I woke up, before I could fully focus, I looked at the ceiling and I swore there was a spider the size of my hand on the ceiling. Oh, no. I leaped out of bed, across my husband, and almost landed on my 4-year-old who was sleeping on the floor. I can totally relate to that because my kids are sleep wherever they want. My husband woke up and was like, "What the heck was that?" And I was so scared. I turned on all the lights. I searched the whole room for that invisible spider, but I never found it.
Oh.
So, yeah,
she was still partially in the dream state.
She was. Yeah. She was. And I'm thinking, what could that have been? It could have been a shadow or maybe some sort of, I don't know what else would be on the ceiling.
Or like a reflection,
like alarm,
or,
yeah, something. I don't know, but and then you get it in your head, and then you become obsessed about it. And I don't know. I feel like when I was pregnant, I was even more obsessed about that kind of stuff because you're trying to keep yourself as like safe as possible.
Right.
And let me tell you, a spider the size of your hand is not safe. It's just not safe. So I get you, Becca. I feel ya. Thanks so much for sending this pregnancy oops. And if you guys have a pregnancy oops that you want us to chat about on the show, we would love to hear it. You can send us an email through our website at newmommymedia.com. You can also, straight through the website, you can send us a voicemail. And it's really great because you can just use the microphone on your computer, never have to pick up a phone. Again, all that information's on our website.
Today on Preggy Pals, we're learning about how to make sex more comfortable while you're pregnant. Joining us today is Zoe Etkin, CAPA certified labor and postpartum doula and women's sexual wellness practitioner. Welcome to Preggy Pals, Zoe.
Thanks so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Awesome. So I want to first, I guess, start by sort of taking note that, some women have an increased sex drive while pregnant and others have a kind of a depleted sex drive. So when sex is furthest from your mind, the very thought of it can just seem uncomfortable. What are some ways to get in the mood while you're pregnant?
Well, first I would say, don't force it. If you're not feeling it that day, I think it's important to honor yourself in that way. But if it's going to be sort of an ongoing issue with you and your partner, I think finding someone to talk about it with is a good idea. There are sex coaches and therapists that are great. But I think also a lot of women need mental prep before they have sex. You really need to feel sexy before you can sort of get in the mood. So I think, doing sexting with your partner maybe throughout the day could be a good one. Reading some sexy stories or watching a sexy movie. And I'm a big advocate of masturbating. I think that's a really great way to get yourself in the mood before your partner's home from work and you're kind of already on that sexy mindset.
Now, out of curiosity, Sunny, here we go, right? Here we go.
The floodgates are opening right now. And I'm worried because we were just talking about masturbating. Is this a masturbation question? Okay.
No.
Okay.
But no, it was more of a sex drive question.
Okay. Yes.
So this is more PG-13.
Okay, got it.
But how were you? Because you've had 3 pregnancies.
Yeah.
Was your sex drive pretty consistent throughout? And did you have a higher, lower, or did it kind of stay the same as pre-pregnancy?
I think it was pretty much the same throughout. I've always been, okay, here we go. I've always been a pretty sexual person.
Okay.
And it's not just sex. I like just the, I don't know, the emotional, for women,
intimacy.
obviously the intimacy.
Right.
It's just so different for women. And I love to feel close to my husband. And I think for pregnant women too, there's so many things working against that, right? Because your body's changing and all the hormones, and everything that's racing through you, everything's kind of working against, at least for me, it was kind of working against getting to be intimate with my husband. But I think it was pretty much the same across all the bigger I got with the twins, that may have been more of a factor later on, just because of semantics.
Right. Which we'll go into in a bit.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah, I did not, my sex drive just sort of disappeared with my first. And I remember with my second, hoping that I would be like the horny pregnant woman the second time around.
It was like that second trimester, they call that the honeymoon
energy.
period.
Everything is just better in the middle of pregnancy, right?
Right, it's true.
The nausea goes away, you get your energy back. But no, it was the same with my second too. So I just, bless my husband's heart, but I just thanks, but no thanks.
I'm actually, I'm surprised that it would really, after you already have a baby, there's so many other factors, you know what I mean?
And if you're nursing or you're tired or you're whatever.
Or you're just trying to keep sex away from your kid. You're limited in the times that you can have sex and be intimate, right?
Right.
Sure.
So Zoe, now I know there are some, so let's get into it. What would you say some of the perks of pregnant sex are?
Well, I think physically the big one is going to be the increased blood flow. The increased blood flow to the uterus and the pelvis in general for the baby actually really heightens the sensations in the vulva and vagina. So that can make everything really sensitive, and all the hormones also make it super juicy. So orgasms really become super, super awesome for pregnant moms, way more intense than normal. And not only do they feel extra good, but apparently that oxytocin is really good for your baby too. So it's good for them too.
You're just sharing that love hormone everywhere,
It
right?
is, really.
Yeah, it's like good for the whole family. And also, what's pretty interesting is that semen has prostaglandins in it, and so prostaglandins are a hormone that actually ripen the cervix. So all of these orgasms and sex can really help get you sort of ready for labor, which is pretty cool. And then also, I think it just helps to increase intimacy between you and your partner when, you know, you're sort of navigating these challenges of becoming new parents or adding more children to your family. So I think it can really kind of ground you as a couple and bring you back to, you know, why you're really together is this connection between the both of you.
And I know for some women, too, who are maybe putting a lot of effort into trying to get pregnant, sex becomes sort of a job.
It's true.
So probably once you're pregnant, I would imagine some of that pressure just goes away, too, and maybe you can start enjoying it a little bit more.
Yeah, no, my husband and I were one of those couples, at least with our first, because we struggled with some infertility and I was on Clomid and stuff.
Right.
And, you know, with your first, and if you're struggling, you really don't know if you can have kids.
Right.
You know, if you've never been pregnant before, you just don't know. And so I remember after conceiving, a lot of that doubt and everything went away. And, you know, not that I need to get pregnant because I was already pregnant, but, you know, at least
then
just
the pressure's
mentally,
off.
mentally it was easier.
And then if you've had a pregnancy, well, you're already pregnant, so you don't have to be afraid of getting pregnant.
No more birth control for you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to worry about
Well,
condoms. Yay.
the damage is done. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
So Zoe, earlier on you mentioned when we're talking about getting in the mood, and it's about, you know, also sort of feeling beautiful and embracing your new body. With all these physical changes and you're growing, or maybe your skin's changing and your boobs are changing. And, you know, so what are some ways that a woman can kind of help herself feel sexy with her changing body?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, this kind of comes from my background, but I think first we have to recognize that there's a really big cultural component of why some American women don't feel sexy when they're pregnant. And I think that the culture really, you know, tells us that sexuality and motherhood are not mutually exclusive. You can't be both roles unless it's sort of from a male gaze of like MILFs, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So we really have to tell ourselves that it's okay to be a sexualized person and a mother at the same time. And I think that extends into the postpartum for sure. So I think it's a mindset change first, but it's also really fun to sort of mix up your routine. You know, we kind of get into these sexual routines with our partners, and I think it's good to mix it up by maybe spending some time getting ready before your husband gets home from work for, you know, maybe you're planning a date, let's say, and you spend that time during the day getting your nails done, getting your hair done, really gushing up, and then have your husband pick you up downstairs. Like, don't have him come inside and do the whole like normal getting home from work thing. Like, really make it like it's a date like you used to have when you didn't live together. And I think that can sort of amp up the excitement and also just make you feel like it's a real date and this hot guy is coming to get you. And I think that can really be a nice way. And then adding some flirty texts during work and just sort of building that excitement for the evening, I think can really help.
I love that tip. And I think it's really interesting what you said about the social maybe expectations of motherhood and sexuality, because I distinctly remember with each pregnancy when I was showing, you know, at the point of just the really round belly and the waddle and all of that, feeling like I'm never going to feel sexy again, knowing that my body was going to get smaller again, but that I was going to be a mom. And I remember it being, and I didn't even know how to recognize those feelings. No one ever told me that, or, you know, but I remember even my second pregnancy, I mean, clearly I got pregnant again. We had some sex after I lost weight, like whatever, right? But again, those same thoughts came back in my mind about being fearful that like, well, I'm never going to feel sexy now after this one. And I hadn't really thought about that until you said that there were some societal influences.
Yeah, I really see that for a lot of people. And I think that, you know, for whatever reason, our culture kind of puts pregnancy in this like asexual, fuzzy bubble. And, you know, it is wonderful to become a mother and it is a very fuzzy feeling, but it's also essentially sexual. I mean, being pregnant is the result of sex. So
right.
We kind of forget that.
It's very ironic, isn't it? The whole thing is very ironic.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah.
And I think part of being comfortable too is knowing what to expect so that you're not surprised. I think, comfort and relaxation go hand in hand. So what might be some specific pregnancy related nuances to sex that a woman maybe should prepare herself for, like either during sex or right after sex?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that with all of that extra blood flow and hormones, vaginal lubrication might be significantly increased. You might be surprised by that, by how lubricated you become. Sex drive, like we said earlier, is usually highest around the second trimester because everything just sort of feels better. You're not, you're not nauseous anymore, hopefully, and you're not so big toward the end, where things are still manageable, so you can kind of still navigate certain positions.
You're not looking over at your partner saying, "You did this to me."
Just wait till the third trimester for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And even before you give birth, your breast could leak, so that's a possibility. Your center of gravity is different, so you might be sort of off balance for some positions that you might have liked before. Orgasms can be super powerful at this time and sometimes cause some cramping, so that's something to be aware of. But those are sort of the main ones.
Sunny, did you ever experience any any sexual side effects when you were pregnant?
Well, when we were talking briefly about leaky breasts, I had, again, you guys can be like, I don't want to know all this about Sunny. I can't even remember what side it was, either my right or my left, but it routine with every single one of my pregnancies, at about 32 weeks, it starts to lactate. Just one side because, I'm lopsided like that.
Aren't we all?
But that was kind of, I'm not a big fan of leaky boobs. That's not something that makes me feel sexy. So, but that was one thing.
Would
in
you
our
just
little
wear?
list
Would
here.
you just wear a breast pad then and keep a bra on, or would you just
yeah usually
let it go?
Well, it depends on the day.
Right.
If I was going out in public, I probably would wear a pad of sorts.
Yeah. And I remember too. Sometimes after sex, you might have a little bit of bleeding, but it's an older blood, just kind of brownish and how that can be normal. But of course, if there's any red bleeding, then you should address that with the provider.
Yeah, definitely. And it's generally safe to be having sex in pregnancy as long as there's not just already a risk for preterm labor.
Right.
Because since you are stimulating the hormones, that's something to consider. But generally speaking, these are all normal sort of side effects that could happen from a healthy couple having sex.
Yes, and typically too, when you're at risk, then your care provider will be telling you no sex.
Yeah,
I've had some friends who are kind of sorry, you can't have any. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you'll know.
Yeah, you'll know. Great. Well, when we come back, we'll go over recommended sexual positions for maximized comfort in pregnancy. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we're talking to Zoe Etkin, women's sexual wellness practitioner, about making sex comfortable during pregnancy. So let's jump right in now and talk about sexual positions. Now we're over the radio, so there's no demo.
Although I have to say, you guys, and I did not plan this, but I'm starting to eat a banana right now.
All this talk.
I'm peeling a banana, and I'm like, oh, wow.
I should have brought less sexual snacks
today.
Awesome. So with a growing belly, it can kind of get in the way as we get bigger and bigger. Yeah. What sexual positions do you recommend to sort of keep the belly out of the way?
Yeah, I think the most obvious is going to be any sort of rear entry position. Traditional doggy style is great. Spooning is also great if you're not feeling like you want to put that pressure on your arms. Standing and leaning over something like the back of a couch or a table or the kitchen counter, those can all be good.
Those are for first-time parents.
Yeah, that's if you don't have kids already.
That's if you don't already have kids. Or your kids are. Or
they're locked in their room.
Right. Nap time.
Yeah. And another one would be to have your guy sit on a chair and you can sit on his lap facing away. That's kind of a nice one, too.
And so you mentioned laying down in the spooning position, and I think that was a good tip, too, because, I assume that missionary would just be super awkward. But also, you're not supposed to lay on your back. Right after 16 weeks.
Yeah, it's not recommended at the end of pregnancy.
Right. So are there any other, other than the spooning position. Are there any other that could kind of incorporating like laying down? Because, we're tired when we're pregnant. Maybe we don't want to be like reverse cowgirling it up.
Or we could squish our husbands underneath us if we get on top.
Energy. Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to lay here. All right.
You're right.
But are there any other laying down?
Kind of take the back seat in a sense. let them do the work. But yeah, since it's not recommended to lie on your back, other positions where you actually face each other, because sometimes you don't want to not see your partner all the time, would be to sit on the edge of the bed, actually, and use a bunch of pillows to prop yourself up a bit, and then have your guy stand.
Okay.
And that's one way you can face each other, but you still have enough of a sort of being propped up that it's not going to be uncomfortable. And then spooning face to face when the belly is a little bit smaller is probably still going to be possible for some people, depending on flexibility and whatnot.
Right. And then when we're talking about, center of gravity changing, and so clearly when you're standing, I would assume you need to be having something you can hold on to. We don't need any face plants.
Yeah, that would be bad.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, standing up and facing the wall with your hands on the wall, sort of like in the I'm getting frisked.
Right.
In a way you are.
But, I wouldn't do that in the shower, though, because that's a good place usually for standing positions. But I think while you're pregnant, since it's slippery in the shower, I would be really careful about that.
Or if it's hot, and yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, when I was researching for this episode, what did they call that one? Like the first one, I saw one website call it like the police, or like the arresting position, or like the police position. I was like, what is that?
Oh my goodness.
That's another sexy term for it.
I know. Like, I don't want to get arrested.
Well, I know where your hands go, but I don't really understand the rest of it. I'm trying to visualize this. It's just like, just spread them kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of at an angle, right?
Yeah,
like sort of,
So he kind of has to be a little bit below you to kind of do
below
that.
and behind.
Yeah, depending on the height of both of you, the guy will probably have to bend his knees a bit, but it's it can be a sexy one because he can put his hands on your wrists and kind of hold you to the wall, so that's can be exciting.
You should see the hand motions that we're doing. It's like below but behind, and then you lift up.
Sort of a shame we're not videotaping this conversation, because we're like a little spastic with our moves right now.
It's true.
Okay, so Sunny, were there any go-to positions for you that you found comfortable?
So I have to be honest with this. Even though I'm a very sexual person, my husband fell in the category of I don't want to hurt the baby. Right. So we didn't have a lot of sex, even though I felt like at times my sex drive really peaked and whatever. He was just really, really nervous about that, And for me, I can't really enjoy sex if my husband isn't enjoying it. Like, that's just not fun for me. I don't know. More of an emotional thing for me. And so I can't really say we have tons and tons of experience with different positions and stuff. Yeah. If we did do it, it was usually earlier on, and then once I think he could see the bump, then it was then he started to freak out a little bit. Yeah. So I would say sex really didn't change that much for us because it was a small bump, and you could still kind of get away with whatever you normally did.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to remember really, but I think that we probably did stand, and I think we did do it in the shower, and it really annoyed me. I just remember being uncomfortable, but it was because probably that was not the it was like slippery, and like I didn't
dangerous.
Yeah. So I think that that's a good point to sort of, if you're going to be in that position, just do it outside of a slippery environment. But okay, and I'm sort of speaking of slippery. I have to just comment on this because I remember when you're talking about the extra lubrication. My cousin, it was funny. I was like newly pregnant, and we were talking about just some side effects, and she's like, I have one word to describe pregnancy. I was like, okay, and she's like, moist. And there's that word, and a lot of people don't like that word. And she's like, it's just moist. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get it now.
That reminds me of like mildew, moist. When you say something's moist, or unless you're talking about cake.
And we aren't even drinking.
We're not. We joke that we should be drinking while doing this episode, but maybe this banana is turning me on.
Okay, so in early pregnancy in particular, some women know or suspect that they're pregnant because of changes in breasts, such as tenderness and engorgement and whatnot. So I know that can be a tender area for women throughout pregnancy, especially in the beginning. So Zoe, do you have any tips on sort of how to help the breast discomfort during pregnancy? I mean, during pregnant sex?
I think just, even though maybe you can be in missionary position, I think avoiding it in the first trimester when they're really sore can be helpful. Or, just not doing sort of the traditional missionary with the guy putting all of his weight on top of you. So what you can do instead, if you still want to be sort of in that position, is to have the guy actually on his knees with your legs up, either in his hands or on his shoulders or your feet on his chest. And that can actually keep him, you can sort of control him a little bit and not let him smush you. And also just letting your partner know. And I think, telling them what is and what isn't comfortable, because communication is really key in all of this. So I think, just having that conversation is important.
Probably particularly if you know that your partner is kind of a boob man, then talking about it before you engage. Because probably the worst thing to do is bat someone away during or, kind of in the moment. But so I would see talking about that probably.
Well, because they're going to take it personally. I mean, and we would too if he did that.
Right. But if you're just sort of I'm totally into this, but as we move forward, just stay away from this area.
These are the off limits area.
Go for the butt instead.
That's awesome. So do you have any other additional comfort tips that maybe we haven't touched on for pregnant sex that we're maybe missing?
Yeah, a liberator pillow can actually be really helpful all the time for sex, but I think it's particularly helpful in pregnancy. And you can use any type of pillows that you have, just sort of stacking things so that you're comfortable. But the liberator is actually made from a sex toy company. So that it
describe this pillow
shape.
Tell us more.
We don't know about this.
Pray tell.
So the liberator comes in a couple of different shapes, but the most common one, I think, sort of their main one, is a wedge shape, and you can use it to kind of prop up your pelvis for different positions, or you can lean over it. But it can just help give support because. Especially if we're talking about doing a lot of doggy style in pregnancy, that can make your arms so tired, right? And you don't want to end up with your face and just shoved into a pillow. So if you have
baby needs oxygen
under you, it can be a little bit more comfortable.
Interesting.
And then also I was thinking, we haven't really talked about it, but oral sex and mutual masturbation are sex too, and if certain positions are not becoming very comfortable anymore, and all you can do is just sort of be there,
right.
I think standing and having your partner go down on you is totally great. So I highly recommend doing that if things are not happening in sort of the penetration department.
Well, I think that's a great point too for the men who are afraid that they're going to poke the baby.
Yeah, that's true.
Or, just
definitely.
feel strange about entering at a certain point in a pregnancy.
Just watch the moisture down there. Yeah. There's a lot of moisture already, so watch that.
True.
You want to pat it dry.
But just sort of on that point of of poking the baby, it's really not possible. I know they get so scared, but the cervix is going to be at least 2 inches thick before labor begins. So there's lots of padding in there.
Yes, and it's faced towards the back, and I know it's. Yeah, they're not going to get to it, but
no,
they think they can, and that's cute too.
They think they can get to it.
All right, well, this wraps up our episode of Preggy Pals for today. Thank you so much, Zoe, for all of your input. I know that this is going to help a ton of couples. So for more information about our show, as well as information about our expert, visit the episode page on our website. This conversation continues for members of the Preggy Pals Club. After the show, we're going to talk about sex as a way to progress labor, which we briefly touched on, and how to make it as comfortable as possible in that process.
So we We have a segment here on Preggy Pals called Pregnancy Brain Blunders, and it's where you guys share the funny, pregnancy brain moments that you've had throughout your pregnancy. We all get to laugh about it. So this is a funny story. It comes from Hannah, and Hannah wrote this in. She says, I was looking through some stuff. I was looking for some stationery when I came across a random piece of paper that read, "Thanks for last night. P.S. Don't tell your wife." Yeah, no. This is totally apropos to our conversation today. And she says, well, naturally, I lost my mind and came running to my husband, ready to commit a crime of passion. He just starts laughing after I went off on him and reminded me that I had written it and left it at his place when I left one morning before we lived together. I looked at it and it was undeniably my own handwriting. Yes, I almost murdered my husband for cheating on me with me.
But was he married before?
No. They were just, do you know how you'd say funny stuff that?
Yeah.
Like they, and they probably were engaged or something like that.
Right.
Like, don't tell your wife.
Oh, gotcha. That is funny.
But like she totally forgot. And then honestly,
God.
my husband and I
That's so
did.
funny.
My husband and I did funny stuff like that before he got married.
Totally.
And if I would have come across a note like that now, and especially like again, pregnancy brain, you're not thinking clearly anyway,
and you're extra emotional.
So emotional. Oh my gosh, so funny. So Hannah, thanks so much for sending us in. We love to get your pregnancy brain blunders. So if you have one you want to share with us, send us an email through the website, and we'll get it on a future show.
That wraps up our show for today. We appreciate you listening to Preggy Pals. Don't forget to check out our sister shows Newbies for postpartum moms during baby's first year, Parent Savers for parents with infants and toddlers, Twin Talks for parents with multiples, and the Boob Group for moms who breastfeed. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
How would you like to have your own show on the New Mommy Media Network? We're expanding our lineup and looking for great content. If you're a business or organization interested in learning more about our co-branded podcasts, visit our website at newmommymedia.com.
Hey, Preggy Pals Club members, thanks for being a part of our club. Here's your bonus content. We are continuing our conversation with women's sexual wellness practitioner Zoe Etkin. So we touched on this briefly in the beginning of our conversation, but as we mentioned, sex can actually help with labor progress and induction. And as a childbirth educator, one catchphrase that we'll often say to our parents in classes and whatnot is the same things that got baby in will get baby out. And we also kind of make the same noises getting baby in as getting baby out, right? So, if you're looking to sort of progress labor, maybe you're having that prodromal labor, maybe it's the end of pregnancy and you're just done and you've heard sex helps. Tell us about how it does help and how you can make that comfortable because frankly, in labor, it would be the last. Are you kidding me? I'd probably stab someone at the recommendation. So if you could just talk us through that and give us some tips.
Yeah. Well, I think it can be a relief to know that any type of intimacy with your partner can help stimulate and progress labor. Even smelling your partner triggers oxytocin. So I think that just gives people okay, I don't have to be doing full-on sex if I don't really want to. Touching and caressing is great. Even deep eye gazing and breathing together in labor can be really stimulating of the good hormones. But kissing is a great way to do it also. And also nipple stimulation, which is so powerful that if you're doing it during labor in the hospital, they actually want you to be on the monitors. So it does have a big impact. But if you're in labor at home or at the hospital and you want to get in the shower with your partner, that's a great time for some sort of, alone sexy time during labor, and the nurses will not go in there because they don't want to know what's going on. So you can have some private time. But for a mom to be able to get into her zone in labor, either just regular zone or sexy zone if she wants to, she needs to be in that environment that's going to feel really safe and dark and cozy. So we want to reduce other types of stimulation. We don't want to be asking her a lot of questions. We want her to just be feeling really good. Just like sex, if we're having to sort of analyze what's going on or thinking about other things during sex, we can't really get into our zone. So labor and sex are really similar in that way. So we want to just do a lot of pleasurable things like touch and kiss and cuddle.
Right. And then you did touch on, too, that the orgasm can help with contractions, right?
Definitely. Orgasm can, not only is oxytocin being released and that stimulates contractions, but oxytocin also releases endorphins, so it actually reduces pain and makes you feel better.
Now, I keep meaning to watch this documentary, and I haven't yet, and I don't know if you guys have, the Orgasmic Birth.
I have not watched it. I've heard.
Yeah. You have, Zoe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have the DVD and the book.
I'm very intrigued by it. I mean, my experiences with labor, I can't say I'm skeptical because I can embrace that, but that just wasn't my experience. But I probably wasn't going into it expecting it either.
Yeah, it's true.
So I'll have to look into that a little bit more. All right.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, Zoe.
Hey, mamas. Don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.